Looks like we had a few more people join. So just want to kind of thank everybody for coming, joining the meeting tonight. A couple introductions, and then we can kind of get started. Steve King and myself are on the board of My Friend's House. We've both been involved with My Friend's House probably the last 10 to 15 years between the both of us. And really admire the mission of My Friend's House of helping young boys that's had some hard times in their lives. And then the other part of My Friend's House is also having respite kids, which are kids that's in DCS custody that's waiting on a place to go. And sometimes we keep them overnight, but wanted to get the meeting started, and I'll hand it over kind of to Steve King because he's been involved with the city of Franklin more than I have. And you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Steve King, I'm a actually volunteer / board member like Kevin is with My Friend's House. Franklin resident all my life and familiar with this program for a long time. Joey, is there any type of agenda or just informal discussion and throw it up for questions?
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to give a rundown of what's going on, and
Okay.
I can have the plan ready if you want to pull that up as well.
Okay, I'll give a little history. So the agency, a little background for the ones that are on here. My Friend's House was chartered back in 1982 in Franklin. We've been on Eastview Drive since 1992, so 31 years operating this group home for teenage boys. As most of you probably know, living there, we constructed a new building back in late 18, finished it up in late 19, tore down the old building that had a lot of disrepair and a lot of issues, and the community helped raise the funds, and we privately raised the funds to construct the new house that you see sitting there now. And currently we're licensed for eight use is our limit on the licensure. And this zoning request that we're asking the city to consider is to move it to a planned district, which will allow us to go up to 12 boys, which is what we had designed the building, constructing the building, and really planned our fundraising around, is to have up to 12 boys at any time if we had the need for that. Right now we have 6 boys with us now, but most of the time we're at 7 or 8 boys, and there's times where we may need a respite for a weekend or a week or 2 weeks. It may put us into 9, and we're just not in a position to take it under the current zoning. So there's no new construction request, no renovations on the interior, nothing on the outside. I mean, the building has been built, and there'll be nothing changed from the building structure itself. It's more just the technical side of zoning to allow us to take over the 8 limit. I guess I can open it up to any questions you may have of Kevin or myself.
This is Mark Jones. I live on Eastview. Is there anybody else that's living on the street that is on the call tonight?
I'm not sure who Sheila is. I'm not sure, Mark. I mean, we've got you and myself and Kevin and Joey and
Do either one of y'all live on Eastview?
No.
So well, my wife and I just moved here. I'm born and raised in Asheville as well. Lived out in the country out on Taliaferro Road for 22 years. So I've been in the Williamson County area quite a while. The move we made here was for obvious reasons into downtown Franklin. I think it's probably one of the most protected places in the United States you can build or have a house. What y'all do at that facility is nothing but admirable, and I appreciate what you do. My concern, just being here, the short period of time we've been here, I think we came in around February. It's just we don't have sidewalks here, And when a group of anybody walks down the road, it's a little bit cumbersome for the people that are on the road. I know that we have plans to get sidewalks put in. I think that's part of the new mayor's program. The direction that the city's going in, moving all the Section 8 stuff out and the movements that they're making, and then the upgrades to the streets. I'm just wondering if we're not maybe putting the cart in front of the horse by upping it to 12 before that goes into place, and what y'all's thoughts on that?
I can't really address the sidewalk issue, I guess, from the agency standpoint. I can tell you, going from 8 to 12 our current staffing that we've had in place for years, our staffing model, that will not change. We are actually staffed. Our model is to keep up to 12 and stay under our license agreement with the state. But from the sidewalks, I don't know what to tell you from that standpoint.
It's what I'm thinking is when you look at and you see a group of 6, people walking down the middle of the road, I could only imagine what it's going to look like if we had 10 to 12 people walking down the middle of the road. And that's obviously, this is a young road now. I know it used to be a very older population base, but now it's very young.
Right.
A lot of kids that Eastview is really taking a turn in a different direction. A whole new age bracket of people are moving in. So that's my biggest concern, is that. My second part was, you said you were going that there was a plan included. We didn't get the plan. I'd love to have been able to study the plan. It looks like you have a very successful business that's being ran there. Looks like it's almost on its own. And I would love to know the impact of adding people to your program. If it is so successful now, what it will be with the increase. If you're not going to increase the staff, what will be the effects long term moving forward? And then I think we should address all the police calls that have been made there. My neighbor next door works for Franklin Police Department, so I've been told that there have been several calls in the past, and I'm wondering if we ought to make that some type of public record, just the calls, not the names or anything like that, as we discuss this moving forward. What y'all's thoughts on that?
The plan attached, we're kind of doing this in reverse, I think, because normally you get these notices in communities, and there's usually a project coming with it, like a new construction. And I should have sent a copy of the rendering of what the house looks like, that obviously we can all see now, but I've got a full set of plans that I can share with you, Mark, if you ever, if you want to see those architectural plans from when we built it.
It really wasn't I'm sorry, Steve, it really wasn't a plan of the building. It's the plan of how you're going to work and take care of the additional students. And is there any kind of blueprint that shows the current staffing will be able to handle the increase in population in the building? This is nothing to do with the building itself.
Right.
It's more or less, are we going to, if we're truly thinking about this for the kids, where are the studies that's going to show us that this is a good move for y'all and the kids? I think we need to have that in the forefront, but that's what I meant by the plan.
Okay. Yeah. I can share our financials with you. I mean, I think they're may be available on some nonprofit sites, but I can share that.
No, I did. I studied them.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a very good, like I said, standalone business that's doing very well.
Yeah, we've had a good last couple of years. We've had some lean years that I've been on the board for 15 years probably. I mean, there's been years where it's been tough, to be honest with you.
My thoughts on the plan, again, would just be from how the increase of population, would the effects of the counseling, things like that, would it be too much on this current staff? Are there other similar facilities in other parts of Tennessee that have the 12 people in it and what are their success rates, and just some of the success stories, as well as, like I said, the police report and the failures. That would be nice to know, to make an educated decision to get behind you guys
Right.
as a very close resident. And I know I've talked to at least 7 neighbors that I guess had to work tonight and couldn't get on it, but I know the concern is every single house that's here that people live in have this same concern.
Right.
The thing that I may just interject in there, I mean, the boys that we have, the police calls, it's more for internal. So like if they're what we call disruptive, can be as, hey, you were supposed to clean up and you're not willing to do that, and you're not willing to go back to your room as they're being told. And so it gets to a point where if they're not following rules and stuff, there's no, it's not like more my kid, I can grab him by the arm and say, hey, you need to go to your room and go in there. If they're just not cooperating at all, per the DCS rules and regulations that we follow, that could, concern a police call. I'd say 98% of the times that police call, that's what it's being called for, is being disrupted. It's very few that, I mean, there's not ever been an instance where an employee's been hit or a neighbor's been hit by anything major like that. So even though the police are being called, a lot of the times it's for reasons like that. The address as far as the sidewalk to the kids, now our kids have to stay on our property. So they should just be on our side. I don't think that they would be adding any additional traffic to the sidewalks, but I agree, walking around there, it is kind of tight. Does that answer or help?
Yeah, I did not realize that they could not leave the facility. That's interesting. I did hear one of the neighbors when we were talking about it on the street said that at one point in time there was a break-in from one of the students there. Are you familiar with that one?
I'm not.
There were some people out of town. It was a house invasion. It happened at some point in time. Are you familiar with that one, Kevin?
I am not. I mean, there have been runaways from the house over the years. It happens very infrequently. As far as a break-in, I am not familiar with that.
And I don't have anything that documents that. That's hearsay just from somebody.
Yeah,
Sure.
and there's, in the type of kids that we're getting, they're most of them, it's truancy, that either their parents are both in jail and they just don't have any family to go to, so they get placed in DCS custody. So we're taking, let's say, very low level risk kids. These are kids that are basically waiting on a foster plan to move through the next place in their life, I guess, would be the easy way to explain it.
And they go to school in our public school systems.
Yeah.
And you said the average stay is 6 months for the kids?
Yeah, so typically our program is a 3 to 6 month program that they complete. And the other part of that is, do they have a place to go after they complete their program? Sometimes the kids do stay a little bit longer because we're waiting on either a foster home placement, or the other part of our program is getting with the actual parents, taking them through a program to make them, I guess, maybe for better or less, become better parents. But yes, the typical stay is 3 to 6 months on the average.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. And like I said, we are literally just trying to gather info at this point in time. and I would hate to, I did not know that they stayed on the property the full time. I had no idea of that, which is, that's new info to me. You know, then I go back to, I've been a coach all my life. I love coaching. I love mentoring people right there that need to be mentored. And those situations, my thought firsthand would be the thoughts of the kids and the children and what the program looks like moving forward. And it sure would be bad to shoot a great program in the foot just because we want to increase it from 8 to 12. And I would put it upon y'all to get some background and some evidence of successful transitions in the industry with that in mind. And I would be behind you 110% if I could have something like that where shows this is a good move for the kids. With the current programs that are in place, is the timelines going to be too much on your current staff? You know, those types of questions would be, if I was a board member as yourself, I'd want to know the answer before I pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, so we are above right now where we're supposed to be per the guidelines of DCS. The ratio for DCS is 1 to 8 kids, and currently we have at least 2 staff members on site at all times. Maybe there may be a few where the kids are asleep that we have 1 staff member that would leave early, but yeah, we're above and beyond where we need to be. I mean, like I said, I've been involved a long time, and there were occasions where we had 1 staff member, but you know, to us, it's getting the kids to a place where they need to be in their lives so they can become better citizens. And we just always found it better to have 2 staff members there. It's easier to play good cop, bad cop with them. And, you know, just having 2 set of eyes, you know, giving them a mom and a dad per se to kind of watch them, you know, when they're in the house.
So with the new move up to 12, you would have to have 2 people there all the time, no matter what. So I guess sometimes you might have to increase staffing to make sure you're within the DCS requirements. So you're probably going to have to increase a little bit on your staffing, I would imagine.
Like I said, not much because we're already doing it. And we've been doing it probably for the last 2 or 3 years of keeping pretty much 2 staff members on hand. Like for example, during the day, a lot of times there's 3 or 4 staff members that's there. So we have actually extra.
Yeah, that's
Mark, I would love to invite you to the house and kind of give you a tour, especially with your background in coaching. I mean, you'll see, like Steve and I did, just having, you know, different people in their lives, and especially that man figure, because a lot of them don't have the man figure in their lives, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I went to public schools in Nashville. I graduated from Overton High School, so been around the block there a couple of times. I know exactly what you're dealing with. I go back to everything you've answered is good for me on the community level. It's back to the kids, and what I'd love to see the police records, and I would love to see how this is going to affect going to 12, and if there's any kind of, when I say plan, when you bring that to the county or the city for the vote, I think that would be good information to have readily available at that time.
Sure.
That's all I've got, guys. I do know if, it'd be nice to get some of these other people that are on the street that I know have concerns involved, but I don't really know. I know our letter came to our house and it was addressed to a different person. So we got lucky. Our neighbor told us about it, or we would not even have known about the meeting tonight.
And I think, Mark, and I think there'll be more opportunities through the city process for actually in-person citizen input, I think, right, Joey? As it heads towards, especially towards the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Yes, there'll be two more opportunities for formal public comments. One at Planning Commission. And then another when it goes to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the public hearing. And you will be getting another notice, at least everyone within 500 feet of the property, another notice in the mail regarding the Planning Commission when it goes to Planning Commission.
Can we get a visual sign put up at the both sides of the start of Eastview? That way people will at least see the zoning change request.
There will be a sign in the yard before it goes to Planning Commission, and it'll just remain there through the Board of Mayor and Alderman process.
Okay. Are there any government officials on the call tonight?
That would be me. I'm with the Planning Department.
Oh, you are, Joey?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else have any other questions?
Also, I'm one of the aldermen and on the planning commission.
So let me ask you guys, if this was on your street in your community, how would you feel about it?
Is that to me or is that to?
Well, really, maybe Joey and Ann, you know, would be better for that since they're kind of the representatives from the city. I'm just curious what their thoughts are on the process. What would be your concerns, you know, from our representative standpoint?
Well, from a professional standpoint, I have to really keep personal feelings out of it and just enforce and regulate the codes and rules of the city. So that's what I am doing and working with Steve and Kevin on the process. And I really don't have a say in the approval of it, just walking them through and then offering staff reports to the commissions who make those determinations.
That makes sense.
Kevin, can I ask a question?
Yes.
This is Sheila Galfano. I own the property at the corner where Auto Doctor is rented in the little rental house. And to Mark's concern, about 3 years ago, someone from my friend's house broke into our renter's truck, stole all his tools, stole the wife's car keys, and took the car and stole her car. And they caught him on Columbia Avenue, and he said he was trying to run away. So do y'all have very many, do you have any, I guess I'm trying to say, not violent offenders, or do they have a record of drugs or alcohol, or I don't even know sure how to ask this, because it really concerns us when, you know, a car was stolen from our renter's property.
So I can probably paint a big paintbrush. I can't probably go into a whole lot of details of everybody there, but everybody that we house through our program are low-level offenders. There's nobody that has a history that I'm aware of that has had a record of stealing cars or doing anything like that. Where it could possibly happen, and I'm not sure of the kid that stole the car. Sometimes we do get what's called a respite, which is DCS, as you've heard on the news, has kids sleeping in their offices on the floor. So they'll call us and say, hey, do you guys have an extra bed? If we've got an extra bed and the kid, what DCS tells us, falls within our program, then we say yes. I will say that there have been times that DCS, before we've gotten a kid, painted that picture as a nicer kid than what they should have been. And we decline those kids once we get all the information. I'm not sure if that was the case on this, what you're talking about. I know that I'm wanting to say that I bet that probably was a respite kid, because I really don't remember the whole time since I've been on the board of anything major crime happen like that. I know of one other kid. It was about a year and a half ago that was a respite kid that did a runaway from the house. And I think he actually broke into a church. He didn't steal anything. He just was there sleeping, trying to get away. That was a respite kid that DCS ended up, following up with. But very rarely do we have those instances, because there is a process that we go through before we accept kids, whether it's a respite or as a going through our program. So we try to make sure that those kids don't come in, because honestly, those kids cause more problems to our program and put the other kids behind because they stir up the house. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah,
But we
well,
definitely want to keep those out as well.
yeah, I was just concerned because this happened about 3 years ago. And he said he stole all the tools because he wanted the money. And then he stole, Hannah's car, which would be major in my eyes. And plus we
Oh, yeah.
rent to Auto Doctor right there in the corner. So, I have concerns about, break-ins, because I don't want to lose somebody like Auto Doctor, because
Mhm.
now we have more of a risk of break-ins. Not that I'm saying that would happen. Y'all do great work, and these kids obviously have to have a stable place to go. It's just we just didn't know what kind of, after this happened to our renters, and the car was stolen and the tools were stolen out of the truck. We just didn't know what kind of children y'all might have there that we could, like, do I need to tell people you need to get an alarm system now, because that's happened.
I think those, and I honestly think those are one-offs that, that happen far in between. I can't guarantee you that nothing ever is going to happen, because I just don't.
Can we get, Kevin, can we get the records? We're kind of the ones that are going to be dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. It sure would be nice what the past has looked like over the last 2 to 3 years. And I'm sure that would be pretty easy to pull up what kind of, what situations we've had over there to make us aware of what we're agreeing to and not agreeing to. This could affect our property values as well. So that being said, it sure would be nice to have more information moving forward.
Yeah, I can check, I think my first thought is the problem is going to be their juveniles. So a lot of it's not public record, but we can definitely, I'll definitely check. We've got a good relationship, of course, with juvenile services, and I'll see if they've got some kind of statistics of all the kids that we've kept and versus reports.
Maybe just the number of calls from Franklin City, that might be something to start with. That'd be really easy.
Okay. Have you, I guess the question, hopefully I'm not opening myself up to anything, but over the last year, have you guys noticed any issues or seen any issues?
Like I said, we've been here since February. My next door neighbor has been here a while, and I know she said there's been numerous little, like, breaking into cars, but that could be from anywhere, that has happened on our street. So that's, I don't know where that came from. It could be coming from anywhere. But most all of our, Eastview is kind of a cool little cul-de-sac. All the backyards have fences, so you really can't get into it. It's almost like a little hidden gem right here. It's almost like a dead end road. You really don't have a need to be here unless you're supposed to. So it's really nice from that standpoint. I personally have not, but we do live with a large German Shepherd inside our house, so it's really not been an issue here. So, but my concern, as would be for the I have two single moms that live, one on across the street from me, one next door. There's so many babies on this street. We just really need to make sure we're making a solid decision here. And I just think we need a lot more information.
Yeah. And again, we've been at this location for what, Steve, 25 years?
30, since 1992, 31 years.
Okay, so 31 years. So I think most people, whether you're new or old, I think would have definitely heard a lot more of violent things. And again, since I've been on the board, I haven't seen any of that. It's mostly just petty stuff that, hey, I'm not doing anything. Okay, well, we're going to call the police and have you disrupted if you don't. Okay, I don't care. And then, then then we call the police and they come to the house and say, hey, why don't you do this? And a lot of times we've been fortunate, I guess, over the years of some of my communication with juvenile services is like, they're looking for that guy to come in and tell them what to do, and then they do it. So it's,
I mean, like I said, I know it's a very successful program, and I'd hate to change up anything that could affect it being a successful program. Maybe we build another one and duplicate the same thing somewhere else on somebody else, so we can share it a little bit with everybody. But like I said, I would love to see minimum the police reports, a minimum what it's going to do from your staffing. I'm sure that y'all have psychologists or psychiatrists that meet with the guys. Is that going to be an issue going to 12? Is that going to increase? You're already very profitable. What does that do with that money, based on your numbers? If you have a surplus, what do you do with that? What's it going to look like moving forward? Are y'all just wanting to add these people out of the goodness of your heart, or is it a business decision? How does that look?
It's not a business decision. And we've met with juvenile services and DCS of how, we can help the community more. And it keeps coming back to the respite kids being really the major issue right now, with just kids not having a place to go. And just getting them off the floor at DCS and giving them a bed. Our plan is really not going to change a whole lot as far as the kids that we keep in the program. We're just really kind of looking for have a couple of extra beds for the respites. So the staffing and that, like I said, it's already in place.
So the part that Sheila was talking about, the respite kids that sometimes slip through, they could be a higher risk. So we could be looking at an increase in situations possibly, because DCS might need to get them off the floor and get them, into a spot somewhere. So I could see where that could be a potential for an increased risk in that situation.
It could be a potential risk, but I think with our relationship with what we've had with DCS over the number of years here recently, those things don't tend to happen as much anymore, because all their records and stuff are online now. So we do get that information a lot quicker. There is a few times that the information hasn't maybe been uploaded as quickly as it should have been, but that's really helped us over the years too, is getting that information and saying, hey, that kid really doesn't fit our program. Sorry, we can't afford to have him in here, because we're not dealing with we don't have the program in place to work with a kid that's murdered somebody or armed robbery and stuff like that. Like I said, most of our stuff is truancy, not going to school, don't have a place to go. Maybe they got caught with, some drugs, a little bit of drugs, but there's not a drug problem with the kids. So I think we've done a pretty good job of trying to hedge it, because it does put our staff in harm's way too, if we let kids like that in. But these are all, there's all concerns that I understand completely, if I had a house there as well.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And I appreciate y'all's time and I appreciate what you're doing. I would just ask that, you know, we get more information on the calls that we've had from the city. And then a little bit more detail on how the plan's gonna look. And if it's just for the respite kids, is there a better solution for that we should put the money towards a more somewhere you could handle 12 or 14 if in a different location, and maybe it's set up differently. Maybe it's at the county, at the city jail or something like that. But with a cot, I don't know. I'm just talking, but it's something that I'd like to see a little bit more detail in.
Okay.
Another question, you said, Kevin, that they don't leave the property. Mark, what were you talking about, that they're in the road and it's hard to drive through if they're only on the property?
No, I'm as we have it now, you know, we have no sidewalks here and everybody walks, everybody is on our street constantly walking and doing. And not just them. I didn't realize they didn't even leave the property. So we need sidewalks here no matter what on this property. And I think it's in the long range plan to get them at least out front on West Main, if not on Eastview. So that was what I was talking about, Sheila, was just people walking in general on our road. And with the trash cans out, it's very hard to maneuver on our road safety wise right now.
Anyone got any other questions? Okay. I guess this will adjourn the meeting. If anyone else has anything else that we can answer. Well, I really do appreciate everybody's time and I appreciate everybody's concerns, and Steve and I both, we're both from Franklin, so we're not going anywhere. So we want to keep Franklin as much as Franklin can be and keep it safe and keep it for everybody, no matter where they live. So again, I just appreciate everybody's time, and we'll be in touch as this thing moves further along.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.